That is so cute.
It is 3:30-ish in the morning and we are just about to leave Adelaide for a 4-hour trip up to Port Augusta to the Arid Lands Botanical Gardens up there. I am beyond excited about this. This is bucket list birding for me. I've been dying to get up to this place. Graham here is my tour leader for today and my guide, because he's been up there heaps of times and he knows the place really well. Graham, I would really like to see today red throats and wedgebills. What are my chances?
90%.
Oh, that's a pretty game estimation.
90%.
Well, we'll see how that works out.
We can cross fingers.
And that was our start of our big adventure, heading north for about 4 hours to Port Augusta, which is right at the top of Spencer Gulf. We arrived at the Arid Lands Botanical Gardens about 7 o'clock in the morning to be greeted by this beautiful sunrise. It was really spectacular. To get to the bird hide, you have to walk a little way off the main road through a fairly unprepossessing landscape of saltbush and red dirt to reach the hide. This is what it looks like. It's a man-made setup with a little watering point, surrounded by bushes, which is very good for all the birds because they like to be able to perch in there and scan the area for any predators before they come down for a drink. The first ones in, just as the sun rose completely, were the elegant parrots. I've only seen these birds once before, and I had forgotten how beautiful they are. Eventually they came down into the bushes surrounding the water point for one last look around to see if there were any predators there. They're pretty flighty, these birds, but once they had decided that the area was safe for them to come and have a drink, they came down in droves. There must have been 30 or 40 of them altogether in the flock, and they were superb to watch. In the early morning light, their plumage is quite luminous. The green stands out in a way that you couldn't possibly imagine unless you could see it. They were pretty thirsty and they kept us amused with their antics for quite some time, resulting in what I consider my best photo of the day. This one, really happy with that. Eventually they flew off and we waited until the next lot of birds came in, starting off with this little southern whiteface. He was a bit apprehensive, this one. He sat in the tree for a while looking around, but there must have been something there that disturbed him because he flew off and he didn't stop for a drink. Unlike these little purple-backed fairy wrens, there was quite a number of them around the place. At least I think they're purple-backed fairy wrens. Without their breeding plumage, it's pretty hard to tell. But Graham was fairly sure that that's what they were, so I'm going to take his word for it. They're beautiful little birds. They're very cute. This singing Honeyeater came in for a drink as well, but he didn't stay for very long. And neither did this little Redcapped Robin female. She just flew in quickly. I think this guy scared her off. It's a juvenile grey butcherbird. He hung around for quite some time, having a drink and then sitting in the branches above the pond. He was there by himself for quite some time, and I was thinking that he was maybe scaring some of the other birds away because, of course, he is a predator. But then these zebra finches came in, and I could not believe how many there were. Easily 100 of them, I think, in this particular flock. And they were very, very cautious. Didn't take much for them to fly off and then come back. Very much arid lands birds. We don't get them very often down where I live. You might see them very occasionally, but these are definitely birds of the outback. The colours are so vivid and they are just so pretty. That was about the end of the time at the hide. The sun was coming up and we chose to move away at that point, trudging back through the salt bush to the area around the Visitor Information Centre. And those birds that I had a 90% chance of seeing, according to Graham, well, that's as close as I got. But we did see this spotted turtle dove. This is an introduced species to Australia, and they are very numerous in many parts of Australia, but no, not a native species. Further along, a welcome swallow was keeping a good lookout over the salt bush, and in the salt bush itself we saw these white-winged fairy wrens. Now these ones are also not yet in their full breeding plumage. When they're fully coloured up, the males will be absolutely spectacular to look at. But then it was time to leave the gardens for the long trip home. We did come across this black-faced wood swallow on the way home. That's a new one for the list. And then we struck these emus.
Look at them, they're all looking at them. They're gradually going to walk over this way, I bet you. They can't help themselves.
Oh, here's Dad and all the family here. I think if we had opened the car door, they would have been happy to jump in with us. They were so curious.
They can't. We used to get it. That is so cute.
That is just bloody hilarious.
The others right there, that's probably the adults out there. They're going, what the hell are you lot doing?
Yeah, they've got one Dad there.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on them. Further along, we came across a group of orange chats, but they were quite distant and they weren't happy about coming any closer to the car either. I hope we get to see them a little bit more during the year. It's a nice one to add to the list, but I would love to be able to show you their colour if they were a little bit closer. They are quite spectacular looking little birds. This one's a male. The females, of course, are much duller. The final bird on the trip that we saw was this Wedgetailed Eagle. I have to say, we were both pretty happy with the way that the day turned out. A huge thank you to Graham for taking me out to the Arid Lands on that trip. It was spectacular. Unfortunately, did not get to see the two birds that I really wanted to see, but oh well, I guess I will just have to go again, won't I? I think I can cope with that. Once again, thank you too for watching, and if you would like to see more content like this, please do consider subscribing. Just hit that little button down below, and if you click on that little bell icon, that will notify you whenever I put out a new video. Next time, we're going out to a mud puddle. Hope you can join me for that one. So until then, happy birding.